Once you've been diagnosed with diabetes, have you got it for life?
Generally, yes. But what you always have the tendency. But if you lose a significant amount of weight, then you can maintain very respectable blood sugars on diet alone. It doesn't mean that you're not diabetic, so you also have to be monitored for this risk of complications. But once you've got it, effectively you have. There are ways of almost curing diabetes, but the only way we have is bariatric surgery, that's sort of bypass surgery, which is expensive and obviously has its own complications. So it's not something that's offered willy-nilly to everybody. But yes, I mean, one can almost, some studies have shown almost 90% reduction in the incidence of diabetes once they've had this bypass surgery.
Wow, that's fantastic. We're standing here, I should explain the noise, we're standing here at the AGM of the Dover Group for Diabetes UK, and it's been an opportunity for all those people to put questions to you that they might have that they haven't consulted their doctor about. What top tips would you give anybody listening to this who has diabetes?
Yes, I think, as we said, adopting a healthy lifestyle, and that's being careful to what you buy in the supermarket. So looking at the side of the packaging and see the sugar content of the packaging. So one's looking for the lowest amount of sugar in a particular food item.
And what was that key figure? You were talking earlier to these guys and you were saying anything under 10 was good? Or?
Yes, one's looking at the amount of sugars within the carbohydrate contents, and anything in single figures per 100 gram serving is better than anything that's in double figures. So anything approaching under 10 and approaching 5 would be the foods to choose, as opposed to ones with sugars in double figures. Monitoring of blood glucose is essential, unless you already have very good diabetic control anyway. So occasional monitoring after meals to help you identify those food items that will tend to raise your blood sugars.
Is it easy to monitor? How do you do that?
Yes, well, diabetics are provided with a glucose meter and various strips to test the blood sugar. They're very expensive, so they need to be used judiciously and wisely. But the occasional test after various meals would help you identify what it is in your diet that's putting your sugar up, so you can halve that meal or preferably avoid it altogether.
So will a different food affect a different person in a different way?
Generally different foods do. I mean, if food has a high sugar content, it's going to put the sugar up in most individuals, but in some individuals, various food items put the sugar up higher than others. So it's always worth monitoring 2 hours later to see what that particular food item did to yourself, and then play it by ear. One has to be careful of fruit, because fruit has a natural sugar called fructose, which can raise the blood sugar. So it's always worth checking after a particular item, and bananas and grapes are notorious to raise blood sugar. So one should either avoid those or else eat them in moderation, and especially before taking a form of exercise. But I've already mentioned healthy cereals, and then things like fish, of course, is actually not fish and chips, but fish is the natural form, especially oily fish like salmon, mackerel, tuna. They're all very healthy food items. Avoiding the chips, and preferably something healthy like a salad or vegetables. And vegetables can be eaten
copiously.
Copiously, okay, but not potatoes, because potatoes is a starchy vegetable. And people on a high potato diet certainly tend to put on a lot of weight. So be wary of potatoes, and bread would fall in the category as well. So yes, it can be eaten, but in small amounts, so smaller and often as opposed to large amounts at any one particular time.